Every day we have to do some Vedanta Chintanam. Vedanta Chintanam means inquiring into our spiritual nature. Let me start with Shanti Mantra, then we will discuss. Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrothram Athabalam Indriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahmopanishadam Maham Brahma Nirakuryam Mama Brahma Nirakarot Anirakaranamastu Anirakaranam me astu Sadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaste Maisantu Te Maisantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I pray to the Divine Lord that all aspects of my personality, including my body, mind, sense organs, prana shakti, strength, may all increase and function in perfect harmony. This whole universe, visible through the sense organs to the mind, is nothing other than the ultimate reality described as Brahman in the Upanishads. May I always remember this truth. May I never disregard this truth. May I strive to realize this in my own life. As I am engaged in that effort to realize the divine nature inherent in me, may all the virtues described in the Upanishads come to me. May all the virtues such as truthfulness, strength, purity, and straightforwardness described in the Upanishads, may all those come and reside in me. Om peace. May there be peace within me, within us all. Adhyatmika Shanti. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. Adi Bhautika Shanti. And may there be peace everywhere in nature. Adi Daivika Shanti. This Shanti mantra says, it has 4 parts in it. We will go to the second part. The second part says, Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam. Sarvam means all. Sarvam idam has to be added. This whole universe, whatever we are experiencing, we call it Prapancha. Prapancha means we have 5 sense organs, Jnanendriyas, through which data comes to our mind. What we see, what we hear, what we taste, touch, and smell. This is how we get all the information. That's why it's called Prapancha. It's made up of 5 Panchabhutas. It is visible through the 5 Jnanendriyas. This whole Prapancha is nothing other than Brahman, described in the Upanishads, Sarvam Brahmopanishadam. This is the truth proclaimed in the Upanishads and repeatedly praised or mentioned by various sages independently, sages separated by centuries, independently, based on their experience. They all experience that this whole world is nothing but Brahman. Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma Upanishad, Sandagya Upanishad say this whole universe is nothing but Brahman. And in the Bhagavad Gita, the same truth is mentioned many, many times. Many of you are familiar with that term. This whole universe is nothing other than Brahman. That is the truth. But we don't experience it. What we experience in our daily life is all multiplicity, good and bad, good and bad, happiness, unhappiness, pain and pleasure. This is what we experience. Now we should make this our goal of life, to know this truth. And know means experience this truth. And we should, as human beings, we should try to experience this truth. Simply knowing theoretically by reading books is not enough. We should experience our divine nature, each one of us. That is the purpose of human life. The purpose of being born as a human being, the goal of human life should be to directly, each one of us must experience our divine nature, giving up our erroneous understanding that we are the body and the mind. At any given moment, I am only aware of my body and my mind. Nothing beyond that one. Just all our experience. But Vedas, Upanishads and scriptures and sages have said that's not true. You are the Tattvamasi, you are the divine being. Know that. So one thing to do is to reflect on this for a few minutes every day. Daily Vedanta Chintanam, like all other things that we do every day, this must be also a required activity. For a few minutes, we should find a few minutes in the midst of our busy life to reflect on this matter, on the spiritual aspect of our personality, spiritual dimension of our personality. So that is what we want to do now, next few minutes. One way to do this, there are many ways to do this one. So we can start with something that is common to all. Something that is common to all, regardless of any difference, all differences, is all are seeking happiness. Not only people, animals also. They seek happiness, they seek comfort. One thing. Second thing is, all are trying to reduce, if not eliminate, suffering of all kinds. Dukkha nivaranam, sukha prapti. Everything we do without exception is motivated by these two factors. We want to be happy, we don't want to be unhappy. Whatever it is that we do, people do so many things. People do opposite kinds of, different kinds of things for the same goal. Why? Because this is the reason. They may give some proximate reason. Supposing somebody is going somewhere and you ask him, why are you going there? I want to do some work there. And then, why do you want to do that work? Because I will get this benefit. Why do you want to get that benefit? If you keep on asking why, finally all motivation converges into this. I want to be happy. It brings me happy, makes me happiness. You ask somebody why, suppose somebody wants to marry. Then you ask him, why do you want to marry? Oh, marriage brings happiness. Children, family life is very good. Like this. And there are some people who do the opposite thing. They are already married, but they are unhappy in the marriage. So they want to end the marriage. You ask, why do you want to end the marriage? Because it's causing a lot more trouble. Now I want to stop this trouble. Dukkha nivaranam. This man does sukha praptyartham, wants to marry. That person wants to end marriage because that dukkha nivaranartham. Sukha praptyartham, dukkha. This is common thing. Now the next thing is, we all want to be happy, that is true, we all agree there. Where is happiness? That is the question we want to think. If we really reflect on the locus of happiness, locus means place where happiness can be found, place or object or something where happiness can be found. We have certain assumptions. We make certain assumptions. Sometimes we don't question our assumptions, we just follow what other people have done without pausing to question, examine these assumptions. These assumptions are like this. These assumptions are, for example, Tejas, if I acquire property, money, wealth, I become happy. That is something that most people think like that. If I have money and things that money can buy, house, property, car, vacation, etc., then I'll be happy. That's we think like that and we proceed to do that one. That is one. Then another assumption we make is, if I succeed in something, in my pursuit, any pursuit, profession, scientific field, sports, or some other field, if I excel, if I become the president or CEO of a company, something like that, that will bring me happiness. And we work very hard to achieve that goal. Possessions and success, power, position, fame, all these things. Third thing we assume is relationships. Relationship brings happiness. Relationship means relationship generally with another human being. That means translates into family life, marriage, spouse, and children. And some people also keep pets and other things to find happiness, comfort, like this. So in relationships, we find happiness. That brings happiness, makes me happier. Like this, we make all these assumptions and we work all our life very hard, spend a lot of time, energy, resources to pursue these things with the intention of finding happiness in these things. That's how our life goes on. Hard work, making money, acquiring property, possessions, raising a family, trying very hard to find success, fame, all these things. It's not bad. These are good. There is some happiness in these things. Otherwise, millions of people would not be doing these things. There is happiness in these things. The problem comes when these things fail to bring happiness. Supposing, especially we take the relationship part. People raise families hoping to find happiness, and it does bring happiness. Family life is good if it is peaceful, nice, harmonious. Come here, first class seat is vacant, upgrade, free upgrade. You can come here also.
If he sits here, is already over here.
Very good. So the problem comes when our expectations are not met. Whether it is pursuit of happiness through possessions, property, etc., power, position, fame, etc., or relationships. If they don't bring happiness, if they bring pain instead, then we don't know what to do. Suffering comes. Now, what is the solution? Is there something that can unfailingly, always, unvaryingly bring happiness? That question we have to ask. These things do bring happiness, but they sometimes fail to bring happiness. They bring pain instead. But that is not good. We don't want pain. We want happiness. But experience and a little bit reflection on our own lives shows us that there is no guarantee of happiness in any of these things. They may bring, they do bring, and they may not bring, they may bring pain instead. Mixture happens. We don't want that. We want happiness. Is there a way? Vedanta says yes. There is a way to find unconditional happiness and happiness that is independent of any other condition. Independent. This kind of happiness depends upon other factors. For example, happiness from family life comes when other family members are also nice. If one of them begins to create trouble, then there is misery in him. So it depends upon what other people do. Happiness coming from success, professional satisfaction, success, etc., depends also upon what other people do. You may be the best worker in the department or business, wherever. If the co-worker is creating trouble, then it's a stressful situation. And we don't have control over what other people do. What attitude other people have in the workplace or in the family, who comes as your co-worker or as your boss, as your associate, who comes as your spouse or children, we don't have much choice. We come to know only after they have already come into our lives. Who comes as your parent, we have no choice. We know parents only after we have become their children. Supposing I don't like my parents, I wish my parents were richer. That won't work, because long after I was born, only then I come to know about my parents. So these things are not in our control. Who comes into our life in any capacity, in any relationship, we don't seem to have much choice. Children, spouse, etc. So there is no predictability that this will always bring happiness. Same thing about property, possession. A lot of money can be there in the bank and I can enjoy them, but it's not always possible. If I have some other problem, like health problem, I have a lot of money in the bank, I have so many cars and so much property in different places, but I am unable to enjoy any of those things because some other condition. I may become sick or old. Old age comes inevitably. Then these things are there. There is no happiness. I can't enjoy. So there is no, all this kind of happiness is conditional upon many things being met. And experience shows that we don't have any control over these things. So there must be some source of happiness which brings unconditional happiness. Anything that is conditional, it's undependable. If I depend upon somebody else to make me happy, whether it's in the family life or workplace or anywhere, then I am not independent. I make my happiness a function dependent upon that other person's attitude. He may be bent upon making me unhappy. So then there is no happiness. So is there a way to find happiness which is not conditional upon anything? If you examine, there is no such thing in this world, in the things which we usually do find happiness. Everything is conditional, depends upon other people, depends upon my being in good condition to enjoy. If I have all the food I can eat in the kitchen, all the money I can use in the bank, so many things, but if I am unable to use any of them for health reasons, then the possession does not bring happiness. Like that. People believe that possession brings happiness. More possession, more property means more happiness. They create that equation. It's not always true. People want to acquire more things with the hope that acquiring more things, property, house, cars or money or whatever, dress or whatever, brings happiness. That is not true. If you examine, we have to reflect on these things. If we reflect on these things, we realize that this is not the way to find happiness. I was reading some news item. This man, Jay, the comedian who used to be late night show after Johnny Carson, he is fond of collecting antique cars and motorcycles. It seems he has a television show also where he talks about cars and motorcycles. That news item I read, it says he has plus or minus 10, 15, 170 motorcycles, 140, 150 cars. These are not Toyota Corolla cars, these are all antique cars. He talks about them. So possession brings happiness. It seems to be like that for some time. See, then what happens? This happiness coming from the possession of this property, car, motorcycle, or whatever, people collect other things too. It is not independent. Because the moment you depend upon something other than you, separation will inevitably come. Supposing you have a lot of property, houses in many different places. President Trump has golf courses and property in many countries. Happiness. But how long will this last? Sooner or later, whenever two things are associated, the separation has to come, is inevitable. One way or the other. What might happen is, the owner will be there, but the property owned may be lost. Stock market crash or something, all the money may go away overnight. Or some natural calamity may come and everything can be washed out. One way. Other way is, everything is intact but the owner has to leave. Old age will come, death will come. All the money is there in the bank, all the cars are there, all the property, everybody is there, everything is there, but I have to leave the scene. I become old and sick and unable to enjoy anything. One way or other separation comes. It's not permanent. This kind of happiness is not permanent. It is temporary, it is conditional. Yet this is what most people try to do, to find happiness in these things. Now Vedanta has a solution to this one. Vedanta also agrees that the goal of life must be to find happiness, but these things which we normally hope will bring happiness, they are not the right sources of happiness. There is something else. Something else which is unconditional and always present. Cannot be lost. That kind of source we have to. There's a source like that. If you obtain that, achieve that, then your happiness has no limit. No time limit, no, it's not conditional. Independently, unconditionally, you will be happy. There is such a source of happiness, and that you seek to find. That is the message of Vedanta. What is that? Now, to understand that, we have to do a little bit of reflection. Reflection is very important in human life. Daily you have to reflect upon these things. reflection shows, and a little bit of study of the Upanishad, Vedanta Granthas, Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita is also enough. Contains same essence as the Upanishads. Shows that these objects outside of us, whether it's another person bringing me happiness, a child or a spouse or somebody, or a property, possession, car, money, house, etc., or a position, power, etc., these do not have any intrinsic capacity to produce and give happiness. That's a very important statement. Anything outside of us, another person upon whom we depend for happiness, wife or husband or children or whoever, position, being president or something, power, money, property, all these things, though they may seem to bring happiness for some time, do not have any intrinsic capacity to produce happiness. That means they don't contain happiness in them, but they seem to bring happiness. So there must be some other source. Vedantic sages, they studied this topic very deeply. All other topics they studied in great depth. They came to the conclusion based on experience. All their statements are based on experience, not on theory. They came to the conclusion that these objects outside of us, be it another person's body or one's own body, be it a car or a house or a property or money or child or spouse or whatever, these things are not the sources of happiness. They don't contain happiness in them, but they yet seem to bring happiness. They said that there is only one source of happiness, and that is our very self, Satchidananda. Ananda means not ordinary happiness. Ananda means independent, unconditional, infinite, eternal, unchanging happiness, bliss. That is within us, our very self is that. We are that. You are that. You don't have it. If you have something, that becomes a secondary thing, second thing. I and something that I have. If that is the case, then that separation will come. If you are something, then it cannot be lost. You cannot lose yourself. You are always there. You are that happiness. You don't have that happiness. You are that. But I am finding happiness in the objects, in money, in children, in position, power, etc. They say these objects are merely reflecting surfaces. What they do is to create a highly diminished and distorted reflection of the joy, of the ananda that comes from within. We are looking at a reflecting object. We are not looking at the source. Just like the sun is in the sky, producing all light. But I am looking at a piece of glass or a mirror lying on the ground, that causes a lot of light. That is the source of happiness. That mistake we are doing. I am mistaking a reflecting surface to be the original object. Original source of happiness is within us. We are that. Intrinsically we are that. Cannot be lost. It's not something that we have. Something that we are. But I am not looking there. I am looking at an outside object which is producing a reflection of that joy and giving it back to me, and I am thinking that this is the source of happiness. I am mistaking the reflection to be the source. Just like mistaking a piece of glass or a metal or a mirror lying on the ground, reflecting sun's light, thinking that to be the source of light. That's not the source of light. It is producing light, but it's not its own intrinsic, it's borrowed light. What it is doing is It is taking that light from the sun, which is falling on it, producing a highly diminished, distorted view of that sunlight, and that I find, oh, so bright, I want to have it, because it always gives me light. You take the glass, hoping that brings you happiness, mirror, then what happens when the sun sets, mirror is there, but there is no happiness, no light coming from that one. So Vedanta says, what you are doing is you are courting or seeking happiness from reflecting sources. They are not seeking happiness in the original source. These are objects that are able to give is reflected. The reflection they give is highly diminished and distorted version of the true happiness. Dispense with these because they are not dependable. They don't always give happiness. Go to the original source, which is your own intrinsic self. You cannot lose it. This you can lose. They can leave you, or you have to leave them. But you cannot leave your own self. That is the true source of Ananda. This is what Upanishad says, Rishi says, Big Bhagavad Gita says. In the 18th chapter, there are 3 shlokas. 37, 38, 39 in both. Second one describes the happiness coming from sense objects, Vishaya. Vishayendriya Samyoga, Nodi. Must be 1839 or something. Vishaya Indriya Samyoga, Yata Dagre. 38. 1838. Yata Dagre, Vishaya Indriya Samyoga, Yata Dagre Amrutapamam, Pariname Vishamo Tatsukam Rajasam Smrtam. That's Soka. Agre Amrutapamam. In the beginning, it appears to be so nice. Beginning, when you acquire some property, new car, or a baby is born, or you get a promotion to a higher position, or you buy a new house, it brings so much happiness. Agre Amrutapamam. And where does the happiness come from? Indriya, Vishayendriya Samyoga. Vishaya means sense object. A sense object can be anything other than the self. Can be one's own body. This body brings so much happiness at one time. The very same body at later time brings so much misery. Everybody knows it. Those who are a little bit older, they know when you are youth, when you are a youth, this brings so much happiness, oh, so much pleasure, oh, nice. Give it some time. The very same body which gave a lot of pleasure and happiness begins to give a lot of pain. Bitter happiness. That seems to be preferable to the happiness, the misery that this body brings. What happened? At one time it gave happiness. Now it's giving misery. What happened? Same body. So this should make us think that this is not the source of happiness. There must be something else which is independent and unvarying. Original source. This is a reflecting surface. I don't want this. Go to the original source, Vedanta says. And this is your own self. Seek happiness inside. As long as we seek happiness outside, in some relationship with other people, children, whatever, in some other possession, property, car, house, money, etc., or in some success or fame or whatever, as long as we seek happiness outside, that is sure to be separated from us. We are sure to leave that one, that's sure to leave us. And the happiness it gives is only a highly distorted, dim version, diminished version of joy that comes from the source. Go to the source. Give up the reflecting surface, go to the source. That's the message of Vedanta. So that Atman, our true self, not the body and the mind, there's a soul, Atman. Paramatman sitting within us, God sitting within us. He is the source of happiness. Seek Him. Seek, if you want happiness, go inside and seek where you can find it unfailingly, unconditionally. As long as you seek happiness outside, you are sure to experience disappointment and failure at some point, though in the beginning it may be very nice. That is the message of Vedanta, where to find happiness. That self present within us is, what is that? It is the Lord Himself, Paramatma Himself is sitting there. That is one basic idea upon which the whole system of Vedanta is based. That same divinity is present in all beings unconditionally. Though we may not be aware of it, we may not accept it, we may not believe in it, but His presence is unconditional. It does not depend upon our acceptance, our belief, anything. It is unconditionally present there. Seek happiness there. That happiness coming from the self is the true joy, true bliss, true ananda. It does not depend upon any other condition being met. It is always there, does not change, does not diminish. Happiness coming from outside goes up and down. Somebody brings you a lot of happiness today, someone next day that person brings you a lot of pain. There is no such variation in the Atman. It is always there. Even if the body is in poor condition, I am not depending upon the body for happiness, but the Atman is giving me happiness. You can see this in the lives of all great saints of all cultures. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, I was reading the book upstairs, and he had a lot of pain because he had sarcoma, some kind of cancer of the arm or elbow. Outwardly, a lot of pain was there. Some 3 or 4 operations were made. Those days there was no sophisticated medical help available. Something that it didn't work. Bandage and everything. But although there seemed to be pain from the onlooker's point of view, inside he was, somebody asked him, Bhagavan, what kind of, don't you experience the pain? Yes, pain is there, it is like the dream pain. In a dream, if I get a lot of pain, any kind of unhappiness, in waking state you don't bother me? Like that one. To them, waking state is like what dream is to us. It appears to be there, but it is not there. Supposing last night, if I dreamt that when a robber came or a tiger came or a snake came or something came, I was having a nightmare, yelling and screaming. But when I woke up this morning, there was nothing, no pain was there, nobody came, nothing bad happened. I was sleeping in my bedroom, nothing came, nobody went. It never happened. Or at that time it seemed to be happening. Like that, it's not true pain, they don't feel it. Sri Ramakrishna was like that one. He had also cancer of the throat, severe type of cancer. No proper, those days in the 1880s, some homeopathic medicine they used to give, how much but they didn't do anything. They didn't have access to proper medical care. Medical science was not that much advanced as it is today in the 1880s. Apparently there was a lot of pain from the onlooker's point of view, but inside he was full of joy. He would sing and dance and be lost in ecstasy. So much joy that the physical frame could not even contain it. He would freeze, going to say state of samadhi. They don't feel that one. So that kind of happiness is not physical happiness that the body brings. It is deeper than that. Unconditional, always present, infinite, eternal, does not depend upon any other external condition. Whether people like us or not, whether I am healthy or not, whether I have money or not, whether I have clothing or not, food or not, possession or not, independently, unconditionally, permanently blissful. That ananda is the true ananda. That you seek. That is what Vedanta is telling us. So, in another way, in our Vedantic rishis, they classified all happiness into three broad categories. The ordinary happiness we all seek, most people seek, they called it Vishayananda. Vishaya Sukha. Vishaya means any sense object. Vishaya means any sense object outside of us. It can be our own body, it can be some other person, it can be a child, it can be a job, position, power, money, car, fame, property, anything. It's all Vishaya, coming from outside. That is the least kind of happiness, least effective, because it is highly conditional. Any of these things will fail. One way or other, separation will come. Property can be there. I may become sick, unable to enjoy property. Or I may be in good health, property may leave me. Position may be taken away from me. Or family which brought happiness at one time can create a lot of pain at other time, sickness, other things will come. That's not true happiness. It's not permanent. It's not unconditional happiness. That's not the best kind of happiness. Vishaya Sukha. Then the disadvantages of such happiness coming from outside objects, relationships, possessions, etc., are nicely, succinctly described in one shloka in the Gita. Chapter 5, shloka 22. Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo naya evate आद्यन्तवन्तः कौन्तेय न तेषु रमते बुधः. This samsparshaja bhoga, happiness coming from contact with sense objects. Samsparsha means contact. I on the one side, object of happiness on the other side. The contact, when it happens, I find experience happiness. Car is there in the manufacturer's, in the dealer's shop, and I am here. When it becomes mine, then it brings a lot of happiness. Contact, it became mine, so it's mine, my car. I am happy now. If somebody else's car doesn't bring me happiness, it became mine. So then contact is there. Same thing about relationship. Another person is there, a relationship is established, then that connection brings me a lot of happiness. Samsparshaja bhoga. Same thing about position. President of a company, a CEO, or something is there. I become the president, then that contact brings me happiness. This kind of happiness, samsparshaja bhoga, which most people seek most of the time, Vedanta says, dukkhayo naya evate. Dukkha means cause of unhappiness. Eventually, this kind of happiness turns into unhappiness because we depend upon this association, this contact. It leaves us. Even if you become President of the United States, after 4 years, you have to leave. Or if you're elected, 8 years, then you cannot run for any more term limitation. 8 years is the maximum. Then you become ordinary citizen. That's not permanent. And something upon which we become so dependent, if it leaves, we become unhappy. Because we are used to that. We have become dependent on it. It fails, separation comes, then only unhappiness results. Other disadvantage of this happiness coming from outside, object, person, experience, etc., Adyantavantaha, they have a beginning and an end. The beginning, I didn't have a car. Beginning, I didn't have a family. I didn't have a spouse or child. In the beginning, I was not the president. At some point, these things came as a result of hard work. Anta, then after some time, all these things will leave me. They will be there, I have to live, or I will be there, they will leave. Separation will come. Therefore, teshu bhogeshu buddha naramate. Buddha means a wise person, buddhiman. A wise person does not depend upon these things, does not seek these things, because he or she is convinced that there is no true happiness in these things. These are simply pretending to be, reflecting happiness to some extent, but they are not the source of happiness. Just like the piece of mirror lying on the ground seems to produce a lot of light, but it is not the source of light. That is coming from somewhere. If you depend upon this one, at night it won't bring any happiness. If you keep the mirror inside the house at night, it will not show any, bring any brightness. It shows brightness, produces light because there is some original source is there. So leave this reflecting surface, go to the source. Vedanta says. Go to the source. That is the Atman inside. So they talked about three kinds of Vishaya Sukha, coming from outside objects, obviously is not the right kind of happiness. It leaves, conditional, comes and goes. Same thing which gave happiness brings unhappiness at later time, etc. Then there's the highest kind of happiness, which they call Atmananda or Brahmananda. Atmananda or Brahmananda. That is really the source of happiness. That is happiness. Satchidananda is sitting within us all as our very self. Cannot be lost. What we have can be lost, what we acquire can be lost, but what we are, we cannot be lost. That's what we are. Intrinsically we are that. Age and time will not diminish it or take it away. It can never be changed. That is the true happiness. You go there. But how to go there, how to experience Atma Sakshatkara, how to find that Atmananda, it's a difficult and long-term project. Lifelong we have to struggle for that. So they showed us this simpler way. There is an intermediate kind of happiness in between these two that is doable. Anybody can enjoy that one. That does not have the disadvantages of Vishaya Sukha. At the same time, it paves the way for the highest kind of Atmananda. That they called Bhajanananda. Vishaya Sukha, ordinary happiness coming from outside objects, undependable, temporary, comes and goes, gives pain. Atmananda, highest kind of joy, which cannot be lost, intrinsic, eternal, infinite, etc. But to reach that, we have the middle state, which is called Bhajanananda. Bhajana means to worship or adore in some way. Ananda means the joy that brings that one. Adoration of the divine in any way, numerous ways. Our creativity is our limit. In any way, any kind of adoration, worship brings a certain kind of joy which does not have the limitations of Vishaya Sukha, which at the same time paves the way for Atmananda. That is, everybody can do that one. Anybody can do that one. It does not have the limitations of the Vishaya Sukha. Now illustrate this one with an example from the Upanishads. You all have heard about Nachiketa's story in the Kathopanishad. This young boy Nachiketa, the story part you will omit because you have heard it so many times. He seeks self-knowledge from Yama, the god of death. Yama didn't want to answer the third question of Nachiketa, which was what happens after death. Will certain things survive or not? In other words, what is there Atman or only body? That Yama didn't want to answer the question, probably for two reasons. One reason is, this was a young boy, 8-10 years old. Is he really serious about it? Is he asking to impress me? Sometimes people ask questions to impress, to show how much they know or something. Is he asking doing that, or is he really serious to know this truth, Atmananda, Atmajnana? Second reason why Yama does not want to answer the question is, if he is serious, And if the answer is given, is he capable of understanding it? Does he have the background? Viveka Vairagya does he have? So Yama hesitates. So what Yama does is, he offers lot of things. All the Vishya Sukha Yama offers. He says to Nachiketa, I will give you a large kingdom. As large kingdom as you want, I will give you. I'll give you queen, horses, elephants, chariots, money, dance and music. And to enjoy these things, I'll give you a long lifespan. As long as you want, you can live. You take all these things. You are still very young. Why are you worried about death right now? You can live a long life. I'll give you. But Nachiketa remains firm. He says, no, sir. You keep all the music and dance for yourself. This boy, Nachiketa, had this extraordinary courage and conviction to say to Yama, the Lord of Death, on his face, I don't want these things, you keep it for yourself. Your chariot and dance and music, you keep for yourself, he says. Nachiketa refuses. Don't want any of these things. I want that self-knowledge. Why he doesn't want these things, he gives reasons also. He says, these things are temporary. Shwabhava, martyasya edantakaita. Shwabhava means tomorrow they are not there. Youth is there today. After some time I become old. All bodies become old anyhow, no matter how long they live. All wealth is there, tomorrow it may be lost. Or they may be there, I may have to leave. They are not there tomorrow. They are not permanent, in other words. Second reason he gives is, Sarvendriyanam janayanti tejaha. How long can we enjoy physical pleasures? Food and other kinds of sensory pleasure. How long can we enjoy? For some time. After some time, what happens is this. Even if the objects are there, and I am there wanting to enjoy, my ability to enjoy will gradually and will rapidly diminish. Food is a good example. Supposing you are in your 20s, you can eat anything you want, any amount you want, you can digest, no problem. You don't worry about sugar and salt and all those things when you're in your 20s and 30s. You can eat all the pizza you want, all the ice cream you want, all the cheesecake you want, whatever you want, you can keep on eating. Not a worry, not a problem. Food is available and eater is ready. Give it some time. When you go to middle age, 40, 50, then slowly big things begin to change. Doctor says you cannot take salt because high blood pressure. Don't take sugar because sugar problem. Don't take fat, cholesterol problem. All these things. So all the food is there. Food doesn't go anywhere. And I have all the food, all the money to buy anything I want, but I can't enjoy. Nachiketa says that. Sarvendriyanam jarayanti tejaha. If you enjoy the physical pleasure for some time, the sense organs will lose their ability to enjoy the same pleasures, any kind of sense organ, sense object. With time, the ability to enjoy will gradually and rapidly diminish. Objects are there, no happiness. So what good is that happiness? I don't want this. He says, I want that self-knowledge which alone shows the way to permanent, unending, eternal, infinite, unconditional joy, Atmananda. That I want, he insists. That is the viveka that boy Nachiketa had. So we have to exercise that kind of reasoning. How long can I enjoy these things? How long will they be with me? Sooner or later, the same thing that gave me happiness in the past, they begin to give me happiness, cause pain. This is not the way. There must be some other way. There must be another way to find happiness that is unconditional, independent, and unending, not time dependent. Inquiry into the nature of that one. That is Brahmananda. And the way to do that is through the middle stage, Bhajanananda. Any kind of adoration, worship, spiritual practice will lead us to Atmananda. Any kind, so much variety is there in our spiritual heritage. I can say without any fear of contradiction that our Hindu Dharma, Vedanta Dharma, which we have fortunately inherited, it is the richest kind of spiritual inherited that anyone can ever get. The sheer variety of spiritual practices that we have, we can't find in any other culture, to my limited knowledge. So many ways of worshipping, so many ways of adoring the Lord, adoring the divine, so many ways to reach it. Is astounding varieties there. We can always, everybody can always find something that interests them, that suits them, suits their temperament, their ability, their resources. Bhajanananda. Many ways. We can study scriptures, Upanishad show the way, and they give us instruction what to do. We can do that, put them into practice. We can study other scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, etc. So many other scriptures are so many different languages. And there is no limit to the variety of devotional practices that we have inherited. For this age, for Kali Yuga, in the ancient ages, the common practice, at least not for everybody, for most people was, for many people was to retire into the Vanaprastha ashrama after finishing Grihastha stage. Even kings used to do. They would entrust the kingdom to the oldest son, and the king and queen would repair to the forest hermitage to spend their time on reflection. That is not practical these days. You don't have to go to instead of forest. The other ways to do the same thing. So many different ways to practice Bhajanananda. And without changing external circumstances, conditions of our life, wherever we are, we can stay there. We don't have to give up our place and go to some other place. We can still do Bhajanananda, practice adoration, worship in many, many different ways. We have to find what is it that suits us, that's suitable for our present condition. For this Kali Yuga, many sages have said that repeating God's name, chanting hymns, singing devotional songs, chanting hymns and stotras, those are the simplest things. You can do, most people can do most of these things, or some combination that can be done. For this, you don't need any special qualification. You don't need to know Sanskrit. You don't need to study the Vedas or anything. Because hymns can be found in many different sources. For example, the Vedas have hymns. Commonly chanted Vedic hymns are Purusha Sukta, Narayana Sukta, Rudram, Chamakam, all those things, Devi Suktam, all those things. Vedic hymns are there. People chant them. When we chant these hymns, let me finish the other sources. Vedas have hymns, and the Puranas have a lot of hymns. Lalita Sahasranama comes from Brahmanda Purana, like that one. Mahabharata, Ramayana, they have hymns. Most famous hymn coming from Mahabharata is Vishnu Sahasranama, Kodharma Sarvadharmanam, like that one. They have hymns, and numerous sages over centuries and millennia have composed numerous hymns in praise of the divine in many, many different languages and styles. Those are accessible to people. Any of those hymns, Ashtottara, Sahasranama, shorter hymns, Hanuman Chalisa, Aditya Hridayam from Ramayana, all those hymns are available in many different languages. You can chant them. Or we can do japa, stotra, The reason why this is highly extolled is very simple. Anytime we say something, a word, anytime we think of something in our mind, even if we don't have to say it aloud, anytime we think of something, say something, that action leaves an impression on our mind. If I say something bad, a bad impression is created. If I tell a lie, a bad impression is created. If I use a harsh word and scold somebody, a negative impression is created. If I utter something nice, pleasant, beneficial, divine, then positive impression is created. Every time we repeat God's name once, if you simply say Rama once, it creates an impression in the mind. It may be not very powerful, but impression is made nonetheless. And all these impressions that we can create by chanting God's names and chanting hymns and stotras and ashtotras, sahasranamas, etc., all these impressions keep on accumulating, and the sum total of all the impressions that we ourselves create in our minds is what our personality is. This is a very well known principle. Now it is modern day scientists are coming to the same conclusion. Centuries ago, our sages said, what you think is what you will become, what you are is what you have thought. Our thoughts solidify into our personality. In other words, what I am this moment, the person you are seeing in front of you, happy or unhappy, old or young, whatever, healthy or unhealthy, whatever you are seeing, this is nothing other than a structure that I myself created impression by impression over a period of time. Nobody else is responsible. By my own past actions, thoughts, words and deeds, I created this personality. And it's I who is shaping it every moment by present thoughts and deeds. And what I think now is what I am going to become. As you think, so you become. This is known in our ancient scriptures. Nowadays, a lot of studies are being made. I don't know much about these things. Neuroplasticity, they are doing a lot of research these days. And they are discovering, neuroscientists are discovering that our thoughts actually create the neural connections in our brains. They activate them. They did experiments. They experimented with the control groups, experimental groups of Buddhist monks, Hindu monks, and other people, Christian monks who chanted their own mantras of their own tradition. Over a period of time, this repeated chanting of the mantras in any tradition, need not be only Hindu, Christian, Buddhist also, same. They actually alter the neural connection and reshape the brain. The name of the book, the last name is Newberg, and first name I don't remember. He's a famous neuroscientist. How God Changes Your Brain, that's the title of the book. There he is a neuroscientist. He has described how this can be scientifically verified. The brain is plastic, neuroplasticity they are studying. This is known to us for centuries. So what we can do is to use this principle. Every time you put God's name, any language, any form, any shape, anywhere, any place, any time, in any condition, you are altering your brain. You are changing your personality. The sum total of all these thoughts we put into our brain is what we are. There's a very well-known scripture called Ashtavakra Samhita. The Ashtavakra Samhita is a conversation between the great sage Ashtavakra and Janaka, the Brahmajnana, Radarshi, Brahmajnani. They are both Brahmajnani, they are doing conversation. There, one shloka is there, just says exactly the same thing. The shloka is in the first chapter, shloka 11, Ashtavakra Samhita. There he says, Ashtavakra says to Janaka, Baddha Bhimani Baddho Hi Mukta Mukta Bhimanyapi Kim Vadanti Satyayam Yamati Sagatir Bhavet. Yamati sagati. As I think, so I become. Gati means goal, what I become. As I think, so I become. It's in our hands to become happy. If I think of sense objects, good and bad, that's what I become. If I think of the divine in any way, shape or form, I become divine. I become divine. Sachidananda. Because there is no becoming, there is already intrinsically there, we become aware of it. That ignorance is removed, that is all. So, simplest way to find eternal happiness, bliss, ananda, unconditional ananda is to simply find some combination of bhajanananda. Can be ritualistic worship also, but it has limitations. It can be any japa stotra. First is pratima puja. Pratima puja means ritualistic worship. We have a pratima, photograph, or it can be done in a temple or at home, or an image, Ganesha image or Gauri image or Hanuman image or something, or some pratima made of any metal or alloy or clay or some other silver or something can be worshipped. It can be done. That alters the personality, puts divine thoughts into our mind. Japa stotradi madhyama, chanting God's name, japa, same mantra over and over again, or different names as in Sahasranama, that alters, that creates positive impression, makes the mind divine. Then Uttama Manasi Puja, meditation, dhyana can be done, a little bit more difficult, but the first two are doable. There is another way, Soham Puja Uttamatam, that is not recommended for most of us. There the duality disappears. In the first three stages of worship, the separation is maintained. I am the worshipper, God is the worshipped. That separation is there. But at the highest level, the I merges into the divine and only divine remains. So that is not possible for many people in the beginning stages. But Japa Stotra can be done by anybody, any place, any time, no requirement, no rules for taking God's name. Apavitra, pavitrova, sarvavastangata piva. Whether you are taken bath or not, change your clothes or not, you are traveling by airplane, or whatever you are doing laundry, or folding laundry, taking care of children, cooking, cleaning, vacuuming, whatever you are doing, in between you can put God's name. That purifies the mind effectively. And that leads us to Brahmananda. That is the way to find happiness according to Vedanta. In the meantime, you don't have to give up Vishesaka. You don't have to give up family, job, money, throw away all the money, close bank account. You don't have to do that. Keep all these things, but don't pin your hopes on that. These things always will be with me, all this bring me. You can keep, there's no harm in leading a householder's life. Maintain your house. You don't have to give up the house and live under a tree. Not necessary. Keep all the Vishya things you have, but don't hope that they'll always bring happiness. Use them, necessities. They cannot bring true, lasting happiness. For some time they may, and later the same thing that brought happiness can bring lot of pain. So that's not where we should look for happiness. Use them as necessities. Don't have to shun them and give them up. But true happiness, if you seek it where it can be found, in the self within.